Hello, Bill. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, that's on.
It's quiet, like they're waiting for something to happen. There it is. Ryan's in charge of the mosh pit today.
Maybe that would be a good way to start the meetings, with the theme song to Friends.
It would be, yeah. That's a good idea. All right, we have another minute. We'll wait. So, pull this part below your earlobe. And that'll make it come closer to your face. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
That's better, yeah. Does everybody want to check and make sure mics are working?
Mine's working.
Give it just a second. I'll try it.
Testing,
Is it green?
green,
There you go.
good,
Test, test,
good.
Test, test.
I already did it.
You already did it.
Test,
test, test.
Good.
test.
Test.
Yep. You guys ready?
What did I take from?
This is very strange. All right, so we call to order the regular monthly meeting, and we'll begin with the pledge, and then we'll have a moment of silence immediately following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stacy, I didn't know that you were here for the invocation tonight, so I apologize for that. One big mistake down, 10 more to go. Carol, roll call.
Here?
Here?
Here.
Here.
Here. First thing we have is approval of the minutes. Anyone have any changes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Anybody? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. So we're going to jump right into our audit presentation. Brian Wright is here. And Carol, you've already checked his microphone? That one's on? Okay.
Hello, hello, test, test. Good evening. My name is Brian Wright. I'm with Johnson Murphy and Wright CPA firm. I believe I've given you all a copy of this year's audit for the year ended June 30th of 2018. We'll just, I know you're just now getting these, but I'll take a minute to go over some highlights with you, and then any other questions after that, we can be glad to meet with you, or you can call me, or we'll tackle those later. So anyway, if you could turn on page 20, would be the best place to start. This is the statement of revenues and expenditures and changes in fund balances for the year ended June 30th, 2018. It's a big title for virtually an income statement, so this is the income operations of your governmental funds for the fiscal year. If you look at that first column, it's the general fund. That's the general operations of the city. If you look down a few lines, we have total revenues. The general fund had total revenues of $7,515,523. You come on down under expenditures. We had total expenditures of $6,726,690. So the next line, the excess efficiency of revenues under expenditures, or the net income, would be for the general fund of $788,833. Now that's before transfers. So if you keep on going down, you'll see underneath that number, we transferred out to the State Street Aid and the Vehicle Retirement Fund, $594,894. So after all operations and transfers, the general fund operated at a surplus of $193,939. The next fund we'll look at there is the Capital Projects Fund. You can see they had total revenues at zero. It's like, that's not good. How'd that happen? But you keep going down, and we'll skip all the way down. Let's go down until we get to, you'll see other financing sources and uses. It's about 6, 7 lines up at the bottom. The Capital Projects Building Construction Fund, we have proceeds from debt issuance of $2,889,939. So that's proceeds from borrowings and from bond proceeds. So you take that $2,889,939 that came in. If you look up about 5 or 6 lines, you'll see capital outlay. We had capital outlay in that fund of $2,764,103. Now that figure, I guess we all know if we've driven by and been there and seen it, but the $2,764,000 in capital outlay in the building construction fund was roughly $2 million for the new fire station. We had a new pumper for the fire station, which is about $550,000. And we also had some other building improvements at the Public Works building for about $200,000. So that all together is about $2,764,000. We also had some transfers in of $18,000, or no, sorry, it was bond issue cost of $18,000. So it comes down, third line up from the bottom, the net changes in fund balance for the Capital Projects Building Fund was a positive $107,836. Now, our next column, other governmental funds, is a kind of a composite of 3 different funds. They don't qualify as the amount of revenue they took in didn't stand for them to have a singular presentation here, but we can turn back here in a minute, but you'll see that those 3 funds, that's the drug fund, the State Street Aid Fund, and the Vehicle Replacement Fund added together. So those 3 funds had an income of $290,307, total expenditures of $726,684. So that fund ended up with those funds ended up with a loss of $436,377. But then you go down there and you see there's the money we transferred in from the general fund, the $594,894. So that combination of funds wound up making $158,517. Now, if you'll flip over to page 71, kind of a big jump. That's a breakdown on page 71 of those three funds that we just talked about. Those three funds, the drug fund, the state street aid fund, and the vehicle replacement fund. Drug fund had revenues of $2,816, expenditures of $2,551. So the drug fund operated a surplus of $265. The state street aid fund, being the next fund, had revenues of $285,324, which is basically state street aid money we get from the state. We had expenditures of $478,388, which left for a deficit in the state street aid fund of $193,064. But there comes part of that transfer in we saw on the other page. You see right there on transfers in, we have $300,000 coming in there, part of that transfer. So that fund wound up with a surplus of $106,936. I'm sorry?
That transfer in comes from where?
From the general fund, when we were back over and we saw we had a transfer out on page 20 of $594,894. Those two amounts, the $300,000 of it went into the state street aid fund to help cover the paving costs and things we did there. And $294,000 of it went into the next fund, which is the capital projects vehicle replacement fund. And that fund had a surplus. The vehicle replacement fund had a revenue of $2,167, expenditures of $245,745, which left a loss in that fund of $243,578. But that's where we transferred in that $294,000, leaving a surplus of $51,316. And in that fund, if you look up where, about in the middle where it says capital outlay, if you come across, you can see we had capital outlay of about $59,839, which is for basically for bridge and sidewalk repairs and replacements. And the capital projects vehicle replacement fund, the $244,000, we purchased a police car, a hook lift truck, and we got two dump truck beds. So all in all, you can see those three funds together, third line up from the bottom, they came up with a surplus of $158,517. So those three funds combined made money as of the end of the fiscal year. And back at our general fund, if you want to flip back there to page 20, that kind of gives you the whole picture of the town. That's the general fund, the building or construction fund. We have the vehicles back in that other group of funds, the other governmental funds. All those funds, three lines up from the bottom, the general fund had a surplus of $193,939. The building fund, a surplus of $107,836. The other governmental funds, which was the three we just looked at, had a surplus of $158,517. So that's a total surplus in all the governmental funds of $460,292. So including all the transfers between the funds and back and forth, all the funds individually wind up being in surplus, and all the governmental funds in total wind up being almost a $500,000 surplus. So we did very good last year in the governmental funds. If you turn over right now, we got one more place we need to look, well, a couple more, but one is the page 35. We've talked about our governmental operations. Now we're going to talk about the proprietary funds. And proprietary funds means that the state expects you to make money or break even in these funds, more or less. And those funds for us are comprised of, like on page 35, we have the enterprise funds, we have the water fund and the stormwater fund. The water fund had total operating revenues, about 4 or 5 lines down there, of $1,418,567. Had total expenditures of $1,382,559. So the water fund, we had a couple other, had some interest earnings and some amortization expense, but the third line up from the bottom, you see the changes in that position, or the net income of the water fund was $61,815 for the fiscal year ended June 30th. The water fund next to it, stormwater fund, we had revenues of $296,791. We had total expenses of $271,597 for an operating income of $25,194. Had a little interest earnings, and then so the total income of the stormwater fund was $25,878. So both of our proprietary funds wound up with a surplus of $87,693. And if you look over on the next page, just for laughs and giggles, that's the cash flow statement, which kind of converts the income into actual cash flow in and out. You'll see that the water fund, you have cash flows from operating activities, you have non-capital and others, but you'll see if you come down, you'll see about the fifth addition down, this net increase, decrease in cash. The water fund was a decrease in cash of $788,503. And that was basically, we made $791,000 of capital improvements. So we made almost $800,000 of capital improvements and still made $61,000. So. Now the worst part, it's back on page 93. Should be the last page, almost last page. The schedule of findings and responses, which most sounds is the worst part, but for y'all it's not. Our schedule of finding and responses for June 30th of 2018, we have the opinion, we issued an unmodified opinion. And I still got that terminology a little better. It used to be unqualified opinion. It's like, no, yeah, anyway. So we went from unqualified opinion, which was good, so now it's called an unmodified opinion, which is still the best opinion you can get, because we're saying we didn't find anything, material mistakes or errors or something big enough to cause us to modify our opinion. So they say it's an unmodified or a clean opinion. I like it a little bit better than unqualified, but anyway.
Is that a term of art you guys changed, or did the industry change that?
Industry change, that's a GASB change. And that is an opinion issued on the final statements in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Our findings section, we have internal control deficiencies. You see we have none disclosed. Our material noncompliance, we have no instances of noncompliance or other matters were disclosed. So for the second year in a row, we have no findings, which is very rare. We do probably 13 cities, and we have very few that have clean opinions for, well, even 1 year, but 2 years in a row. So that's a credit to your staff, Boyd and Carol and everybody. They do a good job. So I know you're just getting these, and they make great bedtime reading. Us here in the Christmas times, if you get tired of sugar plums and that kind of stuff, you can look over this, and it's just, man, you have all kinds of things dancing in your head. If you look back on page 4 for a second, let me look one last comment here. We'll go back to the beginning. This is from page 4 through, I believe, through page 10 or 11. I can't remember. Let's see. Yeah, 4 through 15. This is called Management Discussions and Analysis. It's kind of an abbreviated summary of all these other 100 pages behind here. It kind of gives you a quick highlight of what the funds did, which ones made money. It kind of highlights what we purchased, shows our fund balance position. And then it gets over here, and you got some really, gives you like some chart. Everybody likes charts and graphs. It gives you a quick look there at what you, like on page 9 and 10, what you spent your money on, and where your sources of income are from in the pie graph format. So it's a good little thing to look at to just give you a quick summary, and then you can dive into the detail in the back when you really can't sleep. But between these pages in the front and stuff in the back, and Carol and I would be glad to, if there's something, I know you're just getting these, so, take them home and look over them, and if you have any questions on them or anything you need further information on, the details in here drill down pretty deep on an account level, but if you need something even further than that, between Carol and I, we can get you what you need. And she knows how to get a hold of me, or you can Google us or go to our website, But we just appreciate the chance. So we just want to say thanks to your staff and to Boyd and everybody for giving us the opportunity and for all their help in preparing your audit. And I guess Merry Christmas, most of all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Great job.
Brian? Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carol?
I just want to take a moment and let council know that there are a lot of people whose efforts go into making a clean audit a possibility for the town. These people, they're hardworking, they're dedicated, they're conscientious, and they're kind of behind the scenes. You don't get to see them very often. You don't get to hear from them very often. Sherry Morrison, Bill Runyons, Shirley Gill, Diane Daly, and of course all the staff. And they work under a lot of constraints, you know. I think Brian alluded to some of them. We work with GAP and GASB and the comptrollers and our own constraints and our own regulations and rules that we follow. And I think that staff does an absolutely amazing job. We provide a high level of customer service in the midst of all of this. We handle thousands and thousands and thousands of documents every year. From accounts payable to payroll to the water service. It's just a huge amount of numbers and papers and monies to keep track of and keep them in the proper places at the proper times, and I think they do an outstanding job. And I also want to thank our auditors, Johnson Murphy and Wright. They're tough, they're professional, they really put us through the ringer, they keep us on our toes. But I have to thank them because they are always so helpful. I will call them in the middle of the year with some off-the-wall question, needing some crazy piece of help or information, and they have always been more than willing to discuss it and work it out with me, and I really appreciate that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So, for Suzanne, you can talk more. Were you going to talk more?
Well, I did want to add, I just kind of want to emphasize how much, you know, we went through every fund, and every fund worked at a surplus last year. But, you know, not only did this funds make money, but you've put over $3 million into assets that I think people don't really think about. You know, the new fire station and the bridges and road repairs and stuff that, and you know, new police cars, new fire, not to mention the fire equipment we bought for the fire engine, for the new fire station. But this has gone a long way to really help the community, and being a member of the community, you know, I appreciate that. Plus, you know, y'all just to have all the funds make money and still provide all those services and equipment. I just want to reiterate what a good job that is.
Thank you, Brian. So for Susanna, new to this, it was frightening the first time I called Carol to ask for numbers. But Carol was helpful, and there was one time that Carol sent me to Brian's office over the past couple of years, and you guys were also helpful. So if you don't get it, and there's a whole lot to understand, like you said, we just got this tonight.
So just take a call, buddy.
Yeah, they're really open to help. So
Great.
that's good. All right, thank you, everybody. Let's move on now to the citizens' opportunity to address council. If anyone would like to speak, we're going to. Yeah, pass me. Ryan, come up and wait for just Ryan. Phil? Yes, sir. Pass me that iPad. We're going to try out a new system tonight just to see if it works.
All right, be careful. Seems a little wobbly.
This is a test. This is only a test. And if it does. Give me just a second, Ryan. Okay, it's working. All right, so set that back down over there.
Yeah, there, here.
Yeah, now set it over there so it doesn't hide anybody.
You put it right in front of me.
This was just for me, wasn't it?
Yeah, I need you to hold these electrodes.
That good?
Yeah, that's good. Should be. All right, so state your name and where you live.
My name is Ryan Walker, 901 Kentucky Avenue. I am here just to introduce myself, I suppose. I am just one of many members of the, I'm new to the board of directors for the MAC, so I'm one of the many community people helping serve the MAC. And I just wanted to thank you all for your service as well. Some of you are new. This is a new council, and I'm new to the MAC, so I just wanted to say hello and thank you. And I look forward to serving in my own little capacity alongside you. We do, at the MAC, we do have some improvements that have slowed down. So I know that I'm not allowed to, well, I know that you guys don't have to respond to questions, which is fine. But the MAC is declining as projects sort of wait, and I know that just happens with construction. But I was wondering if perhaps we could get an update on the progress on the MAC, since it's still not finished yet. And if you can't answer that this time, then maybe we could have an update for the next council meeting. That's all I have. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Ryan. I think we've had our first fail on that because I can't stop it.
You need me to push anything?
Can you reset it?
Nah.
It won't reset?
It's not connecting, but that's okay. That's what we wanted to test.
I watched. I won't go beyond 4 minutes on the clock.
State
Rick-
your name.
Rick Saputa, 216 Primrose Way. Let's talk about some old topics, I guess. The water system. I know I brought this up in several of the meetings before, but I would like to actually get an acknowledgement from the new council that they are aware of the state requirement that any excess water system funds be returned to the customer. That would be all the improvement funds, anything you get from the sale of the system. Just a nice yes, we're aware of that would be good. Dan nods his head. Everybody else just stood there and sat there and watched him. But I just wanted to bring that up again. Now, I know the subject of water rate study is on the agenda today. I'll just remind you all that one of the faults of the water system viability study was that there was not a established project plan and schedule and budget for all the necessary improvements and maintenance. And I don't see how one could do a rate study without having something like that in place. And to follow up on that, why in fact do we need to have a rate study? Has there been any customer complaints about rates to date? As far as I could tell, if they're somewhat comparable to Walden, they're probably in line. I know they're going to be higher than anything down in the valley because it costs a little bit more money to get the water all the way up here. So much for water. But staying kind of on the wastewater system, I've seen some news reports that there's going to be a lot of funds available to the county for projects all across the county, including Signal Mountain. I hope that's an indication that the county will be taking over any and all sewer and related services and providing the financing for that. So we would like to see some report from the council or from the county, to indicate what they intend to do there. Another old topic, James Boulevard road repair. I guess previous councils saw to it to try to take advantage of a historical grant for the work there, and that turned into, I guess, not such a great idea, but no one had the wisdom to look at the additional costs and time that was going to be required because of that and return the funds and just proceed with the road repair. So there is, I guess, as far as I know, still a lot of money to be spent and wondering where it's going to be funded. So I'll remind the council of another state law or provision that deals with projects performed by a municipality for only a segment of the municipality. That segment would happen to be the historical section of Signal Mountain, and since this is a historical project, it would seem fit that you follow the state provisions and fund that project by special assessment to the properties located in the historical section of town. That's all I have to say today. That should be enough for you to think about.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ann Haygood, 506 James Boulevard. Just very briefly, as the spokesperson for the Water System Viability Group, we're glad to see the rate study on the agenda tonight, and we do hope that you will go ahead and request that from MTS. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Phil, if you'll just put that thing on its face
Yes, sir.
so it doesn't count at us all evening.
All right.
All right, we move on to resolutions. And first, we have all of our board commissions and appointments. In the past, we've voted on these as a block. Can we do that? Or do we want to go
Yeah,
through and take a look at them?
As long as you announce each person that's going to be appointed, yes, you can vote on it as a
Right.
block. Yes, sir.
So,
We didn't do that before.
Didn't
We
we?
didn't list everybody.
We probably should.
we pray, yeah. It'll only take a minute, there's not that many that
Just
are on
the
here.
names of the.
Yeah. I'll read, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, and then we could still have discussion once the motion comes up on any of these. So we have a resolution reappointing David Cantrell as a member of the Town of Signal Mountains Board of Zoning Appeals. A resolution reappointing Linda Kelly, Rita Irvin, and Casey Houston as members of the Signal Mountain Beautification Subcommittee of the Town of Signal Mountains Citizens Advisory Committee. A resolution appointing Troy Kennedy as a member of the Town of Signal Mountain Citizens Advisory Committee, Centennial Celebration Subcommittee. A resolution reappointing Mike Richards as a member of the Town of Signal Mountains Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals. A resolution reappointing Ed Garvey to the Town of Signal Mountains Design Review Commission. A resolution reappointing Barbara Womack, Clyde Womack, Ann Haygood, Kyle Kelly, Robert Ritchie Jr., and Joshua Rogers as members of the subcommittee of the tree board entitled Town of Signal Mountains Hemlock Conservation Task Force. A resolution reappointing Mary Scott Norris, John Wynn, Elaine Preston, David Reed, and Bonnie Hamilton to the Town of Signal Mountains Historical Committee. A resolution reappointing Judy Beatty and Annette Allen to the Town of Signal Mountains Library Board. A resolution reappointing Ryan Walker to the Town of Signal Mountains Mountain Arts Community Center. Is that a reappointment?
Says reappointing on the resolution.
You finished someone else's term.
Oh, okay. He completed a term? Okay. A resolution appointing Robert Enman and Seth Graham as members of the Town of Signal Mountains Mountain Arts Community Center Board. A resolution appointing reappointing Cheryl Graham, Charlie Poss, and Mike Richards to the Town of Signal Mountains Municipal Planning Commission. A resolution reappointing Josh Rogers and Caroline Werner as a member of the Town of Signal Mountains Parks Board. A resolution appointing Talmadge Mincy and Greg Houston as members of the Town of Signal Mountains Parks Board. A resolution reappointing Mike Hizibua as a member of the Town of Signal Mountains Recreation Board. A resolution reappointing Ann Haygood as a member of the Town of Signal Mountains Tree Board. And that's it.
Yes.
All right. I make a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Don't we have one more that was added? We got an email about it. Ms. Whittle?
For the
That's
library
but there
board,
weren't any,
no openings.
no openings. But were we going to
Yeah.
appoint her to somewhere else?
Her second was the MAC, wasn't it, Bo?
It's in our packet. Oh, here it is.
Let's see what her second was.
Oh, yeah, Centennial. Is there an opening on the Centennial?
Not right now.
Okay.
Is there an opening on the MAC board? There is an opening on the MAC board.
Oh,
Yeah, sure. It's from, we looked at it at the work session, let me find it. Design Review Committee. Library Board, Mountain Arts Community Center. Boy, do you want to look at this? And so we have, here's what we have. Can you see it? That's showing vacant, vacant, vacant.
is it in our
The two
minutes?
that came on.
Next meeting. If you know there's an open appointment, you could amend that one resolution if someone wanted to move that. But the problem is, if you can't have more than you authorize for each board.
Yeah, is your mic on?
I thought so, yes.
It's
It
on.
is, okay.
It is, my voice is better this week, but not quite as good as it should.
You're a little less froggy than you were
Yeah,
last time.
Less froggy.
Yeah, so you want to wait till the,
We can wait.
work
I just
session?
I just saw it on here and didn't want to miss it. Don't want to turn away a volunteer.
I'm seeing a missing name on here anyway,
I thought we had a vacancy.
on the, yeah, we need to look at this again, because I'm not sure that's all correct.
There may still be an action required on that
Okay,
position.
okay. All right, you guys ready to vote? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So it passes, and can I sign all these later? Just sign all these when we're done?
Yes, that's fine.
We can keep moving? All right, the next one is resolution regarding bank signatures. Find that.
Here.
Just make sure I have the right ones here. Okay. A resolution by the Signal Mountain Town Council adopting bank form resolutions for signatures on behalf of the town. Thank you. Boyd?
This is something we do each time we have a new council. These are the folks for the town that are authorized to sign checks and other documents relative to the bank accounts that we have.
And for those who want to know, it has listed me, Amy Speak, Bill Lusk, Susanna Murdoch, Robert Spalding, Boyd Veal, Eric Mitchell, who's the Assistant Town Manager and Fire Chief, and Carol Thompson White, who's the CMFO for us,
And town recorder,
and Town Recorder.
yes.
Do we vote on this?
Yeah.
Oh,
do we
I
need-
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? We have several administrative things tonight. The next one is also administrative in nature. A resolution authorizing the town manager to enter into a renewal contract with Sun Life Financial Insurance Company for dental insurance coverage for the town of Signal Mountain employees at the rate of $27.40 per month for individual employees and that's $80.80 per month for employees and their families, effective January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019.
So long-standing contract we've had, and this renewal, there's no change in that. We'll say, for the record, when we went through and looked at all these, we actually had made a very minor calculation error in the rates, so we corrected that before we, the rate for the coverage is exactly the same.
Motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Any complaints from the employees about this contract? Everything?
Not at all. Because we actually left this, went to the state plan for all of our insurance, and the dental coverage there was a little lacking, so we added this back in, and between the two, no complaints at all.
Right. Ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. This one is a resolution appointing Bill Lusk as the designated representative for the town of Signal Mountain on the Chattanooga-Hamilton County, North Georgia Transportation Planning Organization Executive Board. So tell us just a bit about the function of this. This is, it's designated to be the mayor or a designee, is that correct on this?
The mayor or mayor's designee, which I have served that capacity either as designee or proxy for the last 2 years. And prior to that, Bill served in that capacity in a different job. And you asked about him taking that role, and he's agreed to do so, and then I will serve as his proxy when he's not able to make the meeting.
Make a motion to approve. I'm on fire tonight.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Bill, are you cool with this?
Absolutely.
Just, what does the TPO do? Can you talk to us a bit about it?
Well, they're sort of the clearinghouse for getting projects, transportation projects done. And there are two parts of it. Loretta serves on the technical coordinating committee, and that group really does all of the heavy lifting. And the board position really is there to advocate for your town, give you an opportunity to advocate projects for the town. And, you know, we've made presentations to the TPO when we wanted to remove commercial vehicles, transient commercial vehicles, and then went up to TDOT in Nashville with support from the TPO. So that's generally the purpose of it.
So like a liaison between the towns and TDOT, or?
Well, TDOT always attends, and TDOT apportions the money, but it's based on TPO's plans for those projects.
How local, how granularly local do they get? And I'm thinking in particular for when we start talking about the school entrance.
Yeah, I mean, that local,
That local?
yeah.
If you look at projects that you're familiar with,
Well, is your mic on?
um,
Is it working now?
Yes.
Okay. Projects that you may be familiar with recently is the sidewalk grant that's come through the town hall project, town hall complex, the multimodal path from here to the shopping center, and now we're applying for kind of a partner to that project that will take it south towards Piper's Path. Old Town Sidewalk Project. All of those go through TPO and find their way to a grant, through a grant process with recommendations and ranking compared to other projects. So it's a very important process to our transportation funding, not just in roadways, but in bike ped funding and everything related.
Do you have to pitch your project against other projects there at the meetings?
That generally is done through TCC, the Technical Coordinating Committee. Your pitch is your grant application, and then it comes through them, and they're evaluated and ranked. And then they come to the executive board with that ranking, and the board votes on ultimately recommendation of those moving forward.
So who ranks the grant applications?
The TCC.
And who makes up that?
It's staff from the RPA as well as municipal representatives.
I think it's important to remember that this is not just something here in Tennessee either. We're dealing with North Georgia and Tennessee involved together in this, and they're trying to establish a pecking order of projects that they might do. So it's important to be able to be there and be able to talk to them about priorities. That need to be
Because
done.
these are federal
Yes.
dollars, so
Yes.
that's why Tennessee and Georgia are working together.
And the transportation planning organization includes both Hamilton County and North Georgia here for our involvement. And that
Gotcha.
is all part of the regional planning agency, but they have members on the transportation organization here.
And so every municipality that borders Georgia has a representative from their council,
Yes,
from
With
their
voting
elected body who
power.
represents and who advocates for their
for their area. Yes.
area.
Yes.
Okay.
And TPO is also involved in the improvement project for the main road at the mountain. And we'll be discussing that with TDOT later this month. But, we went through the whole TPO process to get on the project list. So it could be a state or federal highway that traverses our jurisdiction or a sidewalk in the town.
Great.
So it says that you vote on behalf of the town of Signal Mountain, so is that at the direction of the council? We would have a vote here, and then you would, if there was something that affected us, you would take the consensus of this council, right? And that would be your vote?
Oh,
It's
sure.
not a, okay, double check.
If there's that
For
opportunity,
clarifying.
yeah. I mean, the vote at the meetings may not necessarily coincide with discussion ahead of that with full council. So he will have the latitude to act in his best judgment for the town.
And bring that back to you whenever you can from there.
With respect to new access to the high school, we're going to have to involve a lot of folks in that. TPO, for one, but also the Forest Service, because the most practical route is
Correct.
through the forest.
Yeah.
So, with the county mayor, superintendent of schools, I think there'll have to be a whole bunch of people involved to get that done.
Yeah, we'll discuss that more a little later in this meeting. Any other discussion? Just to remind you, we're voting on making Bill be the designee. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, so now we're down to the water rate study, and I'll read the top.
Wait.
You
We have to-
do have one other.
What am I- what
Appoint
did I miss?
Boyd as the proxy for the CEO.
Moved you? Yep, that looked just like the other one almost, sorry. A resolution appointing Boyd Veal as a proxy for the town of Signal Mountain's representative, Bill Lusk, on the Chattanooga-Hamilton County, North Georgia Transportation Planning Organization. Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Now moving forward. This is a resolution authorizing the town manager to engage the Municipal Technical Advisory Service to conduct a comprehensive water rate study for the town of Signal Mountain Water Utility for an amount not to exceed $3,000. I checked with Boyd to make sure it was okay, because in addition to just reading the header on this, I want to read out loud for all of us to contemplate and for the audience to hear as well. The items that, if we vote to do this, what MTAS says we're agreeing to do as well, because it's not just that we vote to spend the $3,000. We are committing the council and staff to some other things as well. And some of this is already in play, but here's that list. It won't take long. There's 9 items. This is from MTAS, and it says these are the items they need to begin a water sewer rate study. 1, audits for the last 3 or 4 previous years. If the last year's audit is not complete, substitute year-to-date revenue and expenses ending June 30 of that year. 2, current year's financial reports, which would include the revenues and expenses, debt payments, cash account balances, etc. 3, current budget for water and sewer. 4, capital project schedule for the next 3 to 5 years. 5 is preferable, which includes project title with estimated cost, year of completion, and funding sources, i.e. loans, grants, city funds, etc., and expected new customers, loan information, principal, and interest payment schedule. 5, copies of ordinances establishing current service fees and rates. 6, copies of any special contracts, such as to buy water from others or to supply water to utility districts. 7, any major anticipated increases or decreases in revenues or expenses for the next 3 to 5 years. For example, hiring additional new staff positions or a major customer leaving or coming to the system. 8, a summarized 12 months billing history for each rate classification, residential, commercial, industrial, showing total customers, usage, and sales revenues. This should match the last full fiscal year. If you have expenses broken out per class, please include this data also. And 9, any special circumstances affecting the utility's financial operations, such as request for a financial plan from the Water, Wastewater Financing Board, etc. Final note there says, there could be other things as the study develops, and I assume we would be in communication with them. So the resolution, again, is to authorize spending $3,000 to commence the study.
I think that's a great
We need a
bargain.
motion.
But,
We need a motion to,
I'll make a motion.
all right?
So we do it.
So we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
If you want further information in regards to what they would provide, that is, you also have a letter of agreement attached, included in your packet, that outlines what they will provide as a result of that study.
In terms of, because I know that this was such a hot button issue for the last several months, what's the normal method of communicating to the taxpaying citizens that we've approved this to proceed with the study? I mean, is it
It can
just
vary.
announced on
Yeah.
Facebook pages or whatever, or,
It's in the paper. I don't
and
think
it'd be in
there's
the
a
paper and?
specific manner.
Something like this, if the council wants, we can certainly put something on our Facebook page and on perhaps even the town website.
Yeah, maybe
And
even,
it'll,
like a letter to the editor or something.
it'll likely
I
be
just
in the
think
paper.
these are the kind of things that I think citizens really want to hear more about. That, this is kind of that transparency piece of things that, this is a hugely important, comprehensive study that I think we're getting ready to embark on. And it's really a piece of good news for us, I feel like. So I think it'd be good to get the word out.
And I know I mentioned it at the work session, but just to reiterate, one of the reasons that I've advocated for this is it really pushes us, ultimately the council, as the authorizing body to look at some of the things that we've discussed, the staffing levels, pay, how aggressive we'll be in capital projects, and all of the things that they'll need to look at when we're in a position, when they're in a position to start this, that means we will have worked through some of these things and we'll have a little clearer vision of what it looks like for us to continue to operate the system and do it as well as we possibly can.
I think that's great.
I think I want to go with your cue. There's 8 items. It would probably be good to put these on the table so we know what we get back. It's more than just something saying this is how you should set your rates. There are these 8 items. We would receive a narrative and summary of the review with recommendations for setting fair and equitable rates for customers of the city's municipal water system. A spreadsheet showing the past 2 to 3 municipal audits, current year-to-date revenues and expenditures, and a 3 to 4 year projection of all water utility revenues, assuming no adjustment of the city's wastewater rate schedule. A spreadsheet with all of the elements of paragraph 1B with the rate adjustments. That's basically just referring to the last paragraph. A cash flow sheet reflecting the results of all the numbers that they told us that I just mentioned. If the city provides MTAS with summarized customer data, MTAS shall also provide a customer comparison analysis contrasting each class by number of customers, volumes used, and revenue generated, those classes being residential, commercial, et cetera. A schedule of recommended rates, and a graphical and PowerPoint presentation of findings at a meeting of the governing body. Any other discussion? We have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. We move now to ordinances. We have an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2018-8 entitled the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget ordinance to provide for certain additional revenues and expenditures in the budget year. So you explain this to us every time, do it again.
I don't have my cheat sheet with me today. This is something that we do as we move through the budget year to make sure that our budget aligns with the changes that have come by resolutions for projects and things like that. State law requires that any funds that are expended first be appropriated by this body. So as much as possible, we try to stay ahead of that curve in getting these things on and in the budget. You'll see things as small as $1,700 increase in the admin, and that is for, we determined that we needed to change how we made donations to the Lions Club for the fireworks. That created kind of a lag, and we realized that we had actually missed a year, so we're catching that up. All the way up to several $100,000 for the LPRF grant that was awarded. So not only did we get the award and had to put the funds in there to do that, we were also notified that we had to do a modification and put all the electrical service underground to receive those funds, so that was an additional cost. Then you'll see a change in state street aid, increasing for the major projects that are underway, James Boulevard, the Shoal Creek Bridge, and making sure all of those are accounted for. We're also taking the funds that we have allocated for paving this year, and we're moving that to the James Boulevard project. So that just in general is an explanation of the types of things that we have here. In addition, we have stormwater funds that we're moving projects that were carried over into this year. We're moving the funding for those as well.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries 5-0.
And being that is an ordinance as first reading, we'll have, without any objection, we'll have second reading at the work session.
Okay. We move into discussion, and the first discussion item is school traffic, and Amy Speak is going to take the lead on this.
Well, I just put it on the agenda today because I think over the last year and a half, we've kind of lost, that was kind of a hot button in the beginning before we had some of the other bigger issues that came up over the last year. And I just wanted to revisit that. Currently, it's gotten a little bit better for those of you who aren't in that traffic every day. Our police department is out there every morning doing the traffic flow. One of the things we had talked about a while ago was a roundabout. I'm not sure how feasible that is. But I think moving forward, what I'd like to do is not put that on the back burner. I really think that is something that we need to be looking at for the safety of our students and for our community. You know, I don't like to be on recording saying some of the things that I fear, but we live in a day and age where, you know, schools need to be protected, and right now we have one way in and one way out. And I'm an emergency room nurse by trade. We've got a physician on our council, and every time I'm sitting in that line, I think about if something happens to a teacher, a student, a heart attack, a stroke, anything, time is brain, time is heart. And 7 minutes makes all the difference in the world. There's a physician right here that's an ER physician in our audience today, and I think you would agree. I mean, it's too important. I don't know how we would get an ambulance in there in time. I live 1.4 miles from the school, and it takes me 27 minutes to get there if I don't leave at 6:52. You know, so just something I think we need to look at, and I don't have the answer. I know that it's going to be a complicated issue, but just because it's complicated, I don't think we ignore it. One of the ideas I've thought, it seems like we've been coming up with committees lately. We've got a committee for the water system. We had a committee when we looked into the school system. Maybe we put some concerned citizens that are like myself in it every single day, and you, Susanna, is probably in it every day until you have a driver. And come up with a solution, come up with what's worked, what hasn't, and let's start plowing through that. It's got to be addressed. So that's the reason I put it on the agenda, and I just want to move forward.
So one thing that I'd like to see moving forward on this is there have been multiple proposed solutions, you know, for a while. And I don't think any of us know what they all are. I don't think there's one person who's the point person on that. I think Boyd's probably been as close to a hub for people saying, well, why doesn't this happen, or why doesn't this happen? So I want to work with Boyd moving into January to try to document as many of those as we can to present on paper what some of the proposed options have been. We'll probably need to get more people involved.
I don't know that we've had formal proposals. I think we've just had like ideas.
I think there have been some that have come from outside of this body.
Written proposals?
Depends on how you define proposals. I mean, we've had discussions with county representatives about a second access through their property. There have been prior discussions with state forestry about those. So there, you know, are there detailed written proposals? Probably not, but there have been very specific discussions that have been had in the past. So, and that's not in any way trying to, it's just documenting those, and it speaks to Bill's point that we got to get these other folks at the table and get them as interested as we are.
If you could produce, you know, some kind of traffic study out there too, that would show, you know, how many cars are coming in and out at different times of day, and what the risks are, and what the possible solutions could be. So it's just all in like a clearinghouse kind of document. So at least there's like a blueprint to work from. Might be a really more comprehensive, like pull all the moving parts together and see where we can take it. And, you know, I'm sure Bill could help us out, and I'm sure Chip and the county executive. as our new county commissioner, Chip Baker, will be helpful.
Sure. Well, and I think that's the point, is we have all these groups that need to be pulled together, and some of them have discussed these
Right.
ideas themselves. And I think even within the, I'm not sure which part of Hamilton County school system, I think there's actually been some legwork done on some solutions there. There might even be some formal plans on some options that existed when the school was built.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the idea is just to pull as much of that stuff together as we can and put a nice white paper together on it that doesn't say this one over this one, but it says this was this, these were some of the cons, and these were some of the pros for each one of these ideas.
Are you saying that we do that, or I'm proposing that we put together a committee, and that's one of their tasks, to get everything together, and let's get the ball rolling, then discuss
That'd be a
all of these
great way
things,
to
because
approach it.
we can't talk outside of this room, so who's going to do, I just feel like
And
that's
I
how
think
it
there
falls
would
through the
be-
cracks again.
You'll have people that are more than happy to
They're gonna be
work on
passionate
that. That'll
about it.
be really energetic supporters and helping to pull that information together and present their findings. I think it's a good idea. I
Sounds
think if
good.
anything, any way in things like that where we can engage citizens to participate in some of these important issues, we need to try to do.
Yeah.
Sure. Just to have as much information to give to that committee that we put together would be great.
Oh, sure, I think we give it to them, but I think let's come up with, maybe in our next work session, these are the things we want them to look at, and then they'll obviously come to us with more
Yeah.
ideas, but that's one of the bullet points, would be pull together all the ideas, work with Boyd, and start investigating them, and let's start coming up with a plan. So I thank you all for letting me put that on the agenda. I've been pretty passionate about that for the last couple of years.
Any other discussion on this discussion item?
Create a resolution perhaps to look at, to start one of the committees.
Would that be the next step? Can I propose that, or do we have to have it written?
You can do it however you want. Let me rephrase that. Whenever you want it, but you will need a resolution for the committee. So we can either have the resolution prepared for the work session, or we can bring as much information as we can compile prior to the work session, and then have it for discussion. And then if that's the route you want to go, then we could have the resolution for the regular January meeting.
Whatever's the quickest route to get a committee is what I'm in favor of. So if I need to make a motion to put it on the agenda meeting,
Yeah, or you can just put it on there.
all right. That's what I want to do.
There you go.
Please put it on the agenda.
It's there.
Thank you.
All right, other discussion items? Bob, Bill? Keep in mind, we've opened the discussion about changing our work session possibly to an evening meeting, and having 2 meetings a month, just so everyone knows that that's being discussed, which would make it easier for citizens to attend. It would also make it easier for business to take place for the town. They wouldn't have to wait so long. And we are interviewing potential attorneys on the 19th. And,
Is it 6 to 9?
it's, yeah, just so everybody knows, it's 6 to 9. Is that open? Will that be open?
At the work session, you determined that it would not, and that you guys would only be meeting with them individually, and I would conduct an interview.
You're conducting
That you could, that you could watch, so there'll be no discussion or debate.
But there will be discussion and debate once we come back together as a body.
After the interviews.
Not that night.
Right, right.
Not that night,
Right.
but just
Next
so that
work
everybody
session.
knows what's going on with that.
I do have another item of business when you get to that.
Go.
At the work session, and I've known it to work like this each time I've been involved, when council decides amongst themselves how or who will be liaisons for which boards. And it's consensus. When I was researching something else, I learned that the ordinance does in fact say that it would be by majority vote. And I don't remember it ever happening that way, but that's what it says. In your approving the minutes, there's a list of who was assigned to which board. Just to make sure that we cover the bases, if you guys could refer to the November 30th minutes. I assume if there was something incorrect, they would have been mentioned then. It does not require a resolution or anything, but if we could just take a look at that and do a vote for the record, I think that makes things.
On page 2 is where it starts.
Here you go.
Oh, wrong one.
Here you go.
Do you have to make a motion and vote on it? I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
So let's get clear on what we're approving.
I am on the rec board and the personnel committee, or I'm the liaison.
So we're going to bulk vote on all of the committee liaison assignments.
Mhm.
I think that is fine.
Okay. Yeah, well, let's finish that.
Again, it does not, the ordinance does not require a resolution. Just says by majority vote, you will agree on who will be assigned what liaison positions.
Did you move?
Yes, there's a motion and a second. We're in
Who seconded?
discussion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
We talked briefly about, and I don't know if you were going to have that for this meeting, about clarifying the role of liaisons. Is that, we're going to pick that up in the next work session?
I would imagine I had forwarded that to you to see if that's what you
Yeah,
had in
I think
mind.
but then we need to discuss it.
Yes, that was just for initial review, but I can have that for the work session.
Also at the work session, I'd like for us to talk about minutes, since we're on that subject of minutes of committees. I know all the different committees can have slightly different variations of what their bylaws say. But looking at the MAC bylaws, it's worded funny about minutes. And my concern is we have some committees that meet and may not meet again for another 2 or 3 months. So if they do something and the council never sees their minutes until they meet again, the council never actually knows what's going on with that committee. And so I would like to speed that process up some. So one question for Phil in just a second, but the beginning of it, Board, were you aware that the MAC reads this way? The board shall have the duty of reporting directly to the town council. This is talking about the MAC board. And then after that, it says, by providing to the town manager a copy of the approved minutes.
Is that their bylaws or
That's-
the ordinance?
Now, that's their bylaws, and I don't know where it came from.
Right.
So that's the other thing we talked about, is maybe looking at some of these to see if they're all in line with what we do. Phil maybe wants to do that more than anything before we hire a new person.
Yes.
I'm not convinced.
I was just looking at your sections in the code regarding that, and I was trying to make sure on that end of it, we do specifically have general board and commission requirements, and it looks to me like that would be the place to put it in. If there's a bylaw that's contrary to that, then that bylaw would be superseded by the code. So you do have specific provisions here right now for a number of items here on how the meetings of boards are supposed to be done. And I would recommend that whatever they do is consistent with what we have in Chapter 2 of the Town Code.
In particular, is there a legal way to speed up minutes coming to a council, so the council can be prepared when the council meets to know what the committees have done?
Well, the problem you have is volunteer folks on committees here, and how do they get those actually transcribed or put into something else? And unless there is some good way of having a court reporter present or some type of audio or video of the meeting itself, it makes that very difficult.
Is there any, there's no way to approve minutes absent an adjourn of another meeting?
Right, it's got to be the next meeting usually.
It couldn't be a consensus via email? If
No,
there's,
that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act, I believe, if they were deliberating and saying that they were approving those.
okay.
I mean, they can give you a set of draft minutes of what they talked about, but I mean, it's still got to be approved to be the official set of minutes at the next meeting.
So draft minutes, the council could get draft minutes to say preliminary if they were available.
Sure.
Which, that might be the answer for us to know what happened. It's just not the final, and then they could give us an amended version if they were amended.
Sure.
And not approved, so maybe that's it.
So, but if there are council representatives that are on these boards, even if the minutes haven't been approved, could the designated council person give a synopsis about what was discussed at the meeting, just to?
We do that in every work session. We'll do
Yeah.
liaison reports.
But if one
But
of us.
it's not written, it's just
Yeah.
verbal.
And
So
if
it's
one of
kind
us
of just a
happens,
verbal update?
yeah, and if somebody happens to not be there for whatever reason.
Yeah, oh, and if they miss, that was the whole, that's what you said
That's
at
the
the
whole
beginning.
point, yeah, then we don't know. Yeah. We aren't up on.
Let's
what's
put
going
that on the agenda, and we can talk about it and come up with some solutions.
on. Anybody have any other business?
Y'all were having some question, I guess, last time, and we do have in the code right here a provision that says that the 2-106, that any council representative will participate in the work of the board, but will not be an official voting member of the board unless required by superior law. And the only one that I'm aware of right now is the provisions of the Planning Commission that actually say that they are voting members of the Planning Commission. But that should give you some direction from your last meeting about the board liaison.
Library too, I
Okay.
think.
I will look and make sure about the library board on there, because there was a recent state law change here as to the composition of the library board, but I'll have to look at that.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I have a slew of these sheets that have to be signed for the signatures for bank accounts. We can all get together with you today or very soon, so we can get these recorded with the bank.
You have a, sure, I'm afraid to not take this one.
Angie Landrum, 505 Georgia Avenue. This is back to when you were voting for board members, new board members. So I made a list. I think the discrepancy on the MAC one is because back in the summer, the MAC Advisory Board asked that Mike Rowe be voted off the MAC board because he's actually moved out of state. He's been gone for months. So we do have another opening. So that's why you could put that other person on if you want.
Okay.
I don't know her.
But we'd have to have the resolution done, and so we can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think this young man was wanting to tell you something.
Yeah, but Tiber. So I don't know, how many of you guys, have you heard what Tiber's working on? Tiber came to the Planning Commission, but he hasn't presented before the council yet. That's good for other business. So state your name and where you live, Tiber.
My name is Tiber Bukite. I live on 505 James. Tiber Bukite. I live on 505 James, and I just have an update for the dog park.
So Tiber is
Oh,
working on an
great
Eagle Scout
idea.
project for
Love it.
a dog park probably at the MAC. And
Nice. Great idea.
go ahead.
Oh, oops. So So after going back over the proposed site for the dog park, the cost for the dog park has doubled, and we might need some more fundraising instead of just getting some funds from like certain places. We might like just need to, might need to put like signs around town to get more money. I think that's all.
Yes, please do, please do.
Can you go ahead and come up so we actually hear it? Timer, you can tell your dad to sit down if you want.
Ron Buchheit, same place. So he presented to the other board, and I don't think he realized this is a totally different board. So you want to start at the beginning and tell him about the dog park? Very, very beginning. Your troop, what you're doing, and then why you did.
Oops.
Coaching a little because, like I said, you already presented on this.
All right, so my name is, like I said, my name's Tyler Buchheit. I'm from Troop 35, and for my Eagle Scout project, I started doing the dog park, and we were talking about doing it at the MAC, and I don't remember whether or not we got approved, whether or not we could do it at the MAC or not.
Which part of the MAC were you thinking about?
It's kind of by where they're going to put the playground.
If I can, I've met with Ty last week for probably, close to an hour, and went over this, and I'd mentioned to the mayor a couple of days ago that it's frustrating sometimes because when you go into these things and you're trying to help, you can very quickly come off as you're trying to do just the opposite. But we're trying to identify, any issues that there may be with the plan and what all is going to go into it. So it hasn't gotten to you guys yet because we're working through that process. But I do think it's a great idea. It's in the upper part where the old playground used to be, the on past that. So it's a good area. There are some other issues we're going to have to look at as far as ADA access and things like that. But we are working through that, and hopefully by the work session, we'll be in a position to bring something fairly solid.
What was the cost that you initially,
Initially or currently?
the initial cost that you?
Oh, at first, we thought it was going to be $2,000, but now it's $5,000.
And that's probably not final yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We appreciate it, and thank you for.
Great job,
helping
thank you
Ty.
so much.
Good
Great
job.
idea.
That is a great
This is
idea.
the costs.
Gonna pass them out? Sure. So, and we can send these out.
Yeah, I have that, got that via email just today, so I'll go ahead and send it out to you guys.
So Ty's first step was to come through the planning commission because it's a change of use of land. So that's the first place that it had to go to. And his second place was to Boyd to start to find out, what all has to happen. All right. Anything else?
Yeah,
Yes.
in the minutes from last time, you had mentioned that you're going to table this goat ordinance. When do you plan to table it to?
Until it's brought up again. So I don't have a specific date. Are you wanting to bring it up tonight? Because it can be, anyone can come out and table it.
I mean, it's ready for a second reading, is that correct?
Yes.
And so what's the projected time that you've had to have it before reading? Are you planning to
Untable this?
keep moving on? What's your thoughts on it?
My thought is that we would untable this thing once we settled in and had a chance to talk about it at a work session and talk about the issues, and we didn't do that last time.
So do we want to put it on the work
So we're
session?
going to put it on the work session?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
For discussion?
for discussion, yeah. Yeah. On this, the second reading would have to take place at a regular meeting anyway. So, yeah. And am I correct that anyone can untable something?
Yes, but if you've already had one in a public meeting, it wouldn't have to take place in anything other than an agenda meeting. It could do that. I would recommend that it does occur
Right.
in an open public meeting where everyone has full opportunity to know it's coming up.
And just, is it the 19th we're having also a meeting, or is that just for the for the?
That's
Just
just
the
the
attorney, the
attorney.
19th.
So when is the actual?
28th, I believe. Let's check. Yeah, still the 28th. We haven't changed anything.
And regrettably, I won't be here, so
Okay.
I'm asking for something that I won't even be here on, so we'd have to table it. I would ask to be tabled till we
To-
could all be there.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think we have a goat emergency taking place.
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
All right. One down. Very good.
Oh my God, my ribs are moving.
Oh,